That's the Lord God, King of the universe, who gives the Torah of truth and the good news of salvation to his people Israel, and to all the peoples through his Son Yeshua, the Son of God. Amen.
Amen.
Alright, that's not the Revelations 21. Was it dark and stormy night? Long time ago. You guys remember Revelations 20?
Yes.
Anybody got a short summary of your notes, what you remember? You did it twice actually.
Yeah, on the Wednesday night.
We did it on the Wednesday and we did it on the Sunday, yeah? We're talking about the Great Day of Judgment, Yom Kippur, the White Throne Judgment, yeah? And the different resurrections when the guys would come up. Remember the first, the dead in Christ had already been raised. Now once everybody else gets raised, and it says the graves open up, and then it says and the sea gave up their dead. Alright, so depending on how you want to render that, that could be the second and third resurrection, or it could just be the second resurrection. That's entirely up to you. So we're talking about Christ has come, millennial reign has been established, Hasatan and all of those things are being destroyed, and Revelations 21 deals with what exactly?
My understanding, the wedding.
Not just the wedding, but new heaven, new earth, new creation, everything being rendered as it should be. Okay, we're going to do our little circle diagram, I'll grab that. Alright, there's going to be quite a few cross references here. Okay, because obviously what's happening is already, what's going on is already been spoken about before. Alright. Okay, all the hamsters on board? Everybody wanted to go to sleep? Yeah. Alright. Okay. Then I saw a new heaven and new earth, for the old heaven and the old earth has passed away. And the sea was no longer there. Stop. Okay, new heaven and new earth. Where else do I see that?
Isaiah 66.
Alright, so we're talking about something that was already prophesied from Isaiah's time, and we're also talking about something that was talking about Yeshua. Alright, so go to Isaiah 65, verse 17. We got Isaiah 65 and we mentioned again in 66. Alright. Judgment. I'm going to read from 13 just to give you a little bit of context. Obviously, you need to understand the entire chapter. Therefore, this is what Adonai Elohim says, my servants will eat while you go hungry, my servants will drink while you go thirsty, my servants will rejoice while you will be ashamed. Yes, my servants will sing for joy from their hearts, but you will cry out from the pain in your heart and howl from an anguished spirit. My chosen will use your name as a curse. May Adonai Elohim strike you as dead. But to his servants he will give another name. Thus someone on earth who blesses himself will bless himself by the God of truth. And someone on earth who swears an oath will swear by the God of truth. For past troubles will be forgotten, hidden from my eyes. Okay, so tribulations and that have gone. For look, I am creating new heavens and new earth. Past things will not be remembered, they will no more come to mind. So be glad and rejoice forever in what I am creating. For look, I am making Yerushalayim a joy and her people a delight. I will rejoice in Yerushalayim and take joy in my people. The sound of weeping will no longer be heard in it, no longer will the sound of crying, no more will babies die in infancy, no more will an old man die short of his days. He who dies at 100 will be thought young, and at less than 100 thought cursed. Then I will build houses, they will build houses and live in them, and they will plant vineyards and eat their fruit. They will not build and others live in them, and they will not plant and others eat. For the days of my people will come like the days of a tree, will be like the days of a tree. And my chosen will themselves enjoy the use of what they make. And it carries on. Remember, we made that allusion obviously to millennial reign. How did I get to part of it coming in with millennial reign, and now we're talking about the fullness of that happening in Revelation 21. How do I make the distinction?
What? Sorry again?
Part of this deals with making new heavens and new earth, right? But also part of this is talking about the millennial reign. the 1,000 years before the final day of judgment, the white throne judgment, the final Yom Kippur. How do I know?
Because at that time, the enemy will be stuck in the pit for 1,000 years. And
Yeah.
released.
From this context.
Yes. Well, from this context, there'll be no weeping and wailing, weeping and wailing.
Right,
And
and,
that's
that's
right.
and at the end of everything as well, it talks about an old man dying. Now, I thought when you come into the fullness of it and you eat of the tree of life, there is no more death. I thought death was destroyed. Right?
Okay.
So that's the finality of it. But in millennial reign, there will still people, there will still be people, still learning, still dying, and then raised up again for judgment. Right?
That's in 1,000 years.
Within that 1,000 years. So part of it already starts talking about making new heavens and new earth, establishing it. Then it talks about millennial reign, where he starts establishing or comes into the full, not the complete fullness, but at least brings it into establishing the kingdom. And then after death and everything is sorted, then complete fullness of that. Are you guys following me?
After Armageddon, basically.
Well, after death and everything, after death and everything is destroyed.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Jump to Isaiah 66, verse 17. I'll read from 15. For look, Adonai will come in fire, and his chariots will be like the whirlwind, to render his anger furiously. His rebuke with blazing fire, for Adonai will judge all humanity with fire and with the sword, and those slain by the sword will be many. Judgment, tribulation, plagues and wonders, etc. Those who consecrate and purify themselves in order to enter the gardens, then follow the one who was already there, eating pig meat, reptiles, and mice, will all be destroyed together, says Adonai, for I know the deeds and their thoughts. Sound familiar?
Yes.
The time is coming when I will gather together all nations and languages. So a great gathering. They will come and see my glory, and I will give them a sign. I will send some of their survivors to the nations of Tarshish, Paul, Lud. These are just two old Greece and more distant coasts, where they have neither heard of my fame nor seen my glory. They will proclaim my glory in these nations, and they will bring all your kinsmen out from the nations as an offering to Adonai on horses, in chariots, in wagons, on mules, on camels, to many nations, to my holy mountain, Jerusalem, says Adonai. Just as the people of Israel themselves bring their offerings in clean vessels to the house of Adonai, I will also take Kohanim and Leviim from them, says Adonai. Here, that's where we need to pay attention. For just as the new heavens and new earth that I am making will continue in my presence, says Adonai, so will your descendants, and you will never continue. Now listen to the next part. Every month on Rosh Chodesh, new moon, on every week, on Shabbat, everyone living will come to worship in my presence, says Adonai. As they leave, they will look on the corpses of the people who rebelled against me, for the worm will never die, and the fire will never be quenched, but they will be abhorrent to all humanity. Every month at Rosh Chodesh, and every week on Shabbat, everyone living will come to worship in my presence. Right, so again, all the nations coming up. Remember, echo is Zechariah 14, and at a time when everything is coming again into its fullness. Let's go to Matthew 24.
This is verse 1.
It's actually going to be focusing on verse 25. Matthew 24. Right. So, yeah, he's talking about when he's coming back. Let's read from verse 23. At that time, if someone says to you, look, here's the Messiah, or there he is, don't believe him, for there will appear false messiahs and false prophets performing great miracles, amazing things, so as to fool even the chosen, if possible. So pause there again. Okay? Quite important. Just because someone does something miraculous does not mean that they're sent from God. Where else in Scripture do we see this? Exodus, right? The sorcerers or the magi were wise men of Pharaoh, threw their sticks down and they became a crocodile or a snake, depending on your interpretation, and that was it. Moses wasn't shocked by this. He threw it down, his snake, so his crocodile ate all of theirs, and that was the end of it. He picked it up and he went home. Right? Remember, turning water into blood. God allows them to dig next to the Nile, brings the water out, and what do? Turn water into blood. Who was giving them that power?
Enemy.
Right. But they mistook it as, this must be correct, this must be the way, this must be what this God is about. And we know this because we can do stuff, we can see stuff. The manifestation of God is here. But if the manifestation isn't tested, and sadly we have a lot of people today that will see a manifestation of a spirit or a thing and assume it is from God. They forget demonic forces also have power. Okay, so we have to be careful. Therefore, I told you in advance, so if people say to you, listen, he's out in the desert, don't go. Or look, he's hidden away in the secret room. Don't believe them. For when the Son of Man comes, it will be like lightning that flashes from the east, that falls the sky from the western horizon. Wherever there's a dead body, that's where you'll find the vultures. But immediately following the trouble of those times, the sun will go dark, the moon will stop shining, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers in heaven will be shaken. The sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky. All the tribes of the land will mourn because they will see Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with tremendous power and glory. He will send out his angels with a great shofar, and they will gather together his chosen people from the four winds and from one end of heaven to the other. That's interesting.
He's holding those wings back and now he's having
Until the time of the great regathering is near. Notice he says, he will gather together his chosen people from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Okay? Now if we take that from a rapture point of view, that means people are going to be coming down, which we see in Revelations. Some people are in heaven. If we take it just from a plain sense of view, it's going to take it from the four corners of the earth. Okay? Now let the fig tree teach you its lesson, and its branches begin to sprout and leaves appear, so that you know summer is approaching. In the same way, when you see all these things, you are to know that the time is near, right at the door. Yes, I tell you that this people will certainly not pass away before these things happen. Heaven and earth will not pass away, but my words, heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. But when that day and that hour will come, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, of the Son, only the Father. For the Son of Man's coming will be just like it was in the days of Noah. Back then, before the flood, people went on eating and drinking, taking on wives and becoming wives, right until the day Noah entered the ark, and they didn't know what was happening until the flood came and swept them all away. It'll be just like that when the Son of Man comes. Then there will be two men in the field, one will be taken, one left behind. There will be two women grinding flour in the mill, one will be taken, one will be left behind. So stay alert, because you don't know on the day when the Lord will come. Okay? Did you catch the part about heaven and earth passing? So for the new one to come into place, the old one has to fall.
Yes.
Okay? So that's where he's making this allusion to, and this is what the fullness of this is talking about. I need to put my bookmarks in there. Alright. Yeah. Okay. So it says, and the sea will no longer be there. Any other translation?
And
It will
back
no
in
longer-
20.
Yeah, sorry. Back in Revelation 21.
Which is Revelation 21.
Yeah, verse number 1. We're getting real far real quick.
Oh, you only read the first. The sea is no more.
And the sea is no more. Okay? There will no longer be sea or I read one or two other interesting translations. What is it with the ocean that God doesn't like? Or is he talking about an ocean? What is the
I
sea
thought you were
represent?
saying there will be no more chaos.
sin. It's
Chaos.
talking about our sin.
Yeah,
So
Well,
our
that's
sin
with the
is
demonic
being-
problem.
Ah,
Spirit hovered over the waters.
right?
Okay, now chaos.
Well, it was chaos, right? So there will be no chaos. And what did God do? He brought order out of the chaos, right? And he put borders exactly where it is. But again, I don't think he's talking about the actual sea, because he said everything was good, right? And he gave fish and sea life and all those things. But that's, again, my interpretation. He's putting that, he put it that way, he's not talking about the sea, but also in Revelation, you talk about the sea representing what?
Yeah, chaos.
Not just cows.
No.
No. Out of the sea comes the Antichrist.
Oh, yeah. Beast.
No. Yeah, the beast comes out of the sea. What does the sea represent? Not just cows. It actually gives you a description. Talks about the nation. The Goyim. What does it mean to be a Goyim?
To not be Torah observant.
To be out of covenant. Okay? So if there's no chaos, there's no Gentile, out of covenant people, there's another possibility. Remember, I give you one end, on the other end, on the other end, I'll give you different interpretations. You can decide for yourself. I'm not saying one is either yes or no. Okay? So, he's going to put an end to chaos, he's going to put an end to the separation, he's going to make sure everything stays within his borders and there won't be any issue. Also, I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared like a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. Okay, so we see this new heaven and new earth taking place, and now we see a new Jerusalem, prepared like a bride. Okay, so we have an illustration of a city being like a harlot in Revelations before. What was the other great city? We have a parallel between Jerusalem and we have another great city. One was evil.
Babylon.
Babylon, right?
Yes.
Babylon, the great harlot, and she was adorned like one, and etc., and she had all that. So here we have got this whole idea of Jerusalem, this new Jerusalem, being adorned like her bride, coming out of heaven, prepared like a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. Okay? Now, we have a few interesting places when we start talking about this New Jerusalem, but I think I'm going to hold back and I'm going to do a parallel between Revelations and Ezekiel, and we're going to balance a little bit. I heard a loud voice from the throne say, "See, God's Shekinah is with mankind, and he will live with them. They will be his people, and he himself, God with them, will be their God." Now that should set your mind off going like crazy.
One says the tabernacle of God.
Tabernacle, the word comes from Shakan. Okay? Now Shakan means to dwell. And if you notice, there's another word in that statement that talks about, that sounds similar. God's what?
Shekinah.
Shekinah. The Shekinah, which talks about his holy presence. And then we talk about another to dwell. What is another word for dwelling? Sukkah. Alright, so I'm going to put that over here. But the word Sukkah, when he came down and he wanted to dwell with man, he gave us the blueprint for it. There was 3 names for it.
Tabernacle.
The tabernacle, 3 names.
There's the Mishkan.
That's the one I'm looking for. Mishkan. Now remember, in Hebrew, the sounds of this, all come back to Shorish, right? The Shorish is the root. So we have a nun, nun, sh, nun. Right, so they all come back and they're all talking about more or less the same thing. So God's Shekinah, his presence, was made to dwell in his Mishkan, which is what? Sanctuary. Does that make sense? It's a play on the Hebrew. So he's trying to tell you what he wants to do. I told you, I'm sorry.
How do you say the first one again?
Please just say that
All right.
again.
Shakan means to dwell. Okay, I'm going to dwell with you.
Is that the tabernacle? Yeah.
No, that's the Mishkan.
Right. Okay.
The Mishkan. Okay? The Shekinah is God's presence, the big light that hovers over the tent. Okay? When he dwells in a sukkah is a temporary dwelling, or just a dwelling. Okay? But it's normally just a tent. Okay? So when you hear similar sounds in Hebrew, it takes you back to your Shorish, and your Shorish means you're talking about the same thing. You have the first word, and we have the ones that are surrounding those words. You want me to take you back and just show you how this works in a different word? Okay. Lamed means learn. Talmid means student. The student learns. You understand? So if we pick up something that has similar sounds or similar letters, you know that it's talking about a specific subject. In this case, if you didn't know what Lomed means, but you understood what Talmid means, you knew that this has got to do something to do with learning because the student is studying. Same thing here. If you have Shachan, if you saw the Shekhinah, and he says that he's going to Shachan with them, you already know that if this is my focal point, what is the purpose of that? To dwell. And his sanctuary, the Mishkan, is the one. Okay? So it's something that's alluded to in the Hebrew that we just glance over. Now, when he also says something there, he says he wants to dwell with them, and we also had that promise already from where? You will call him Emmanuel. Emmanuel means God with us. Right. So that promise of the Shekinah dwelling with us is already there. You with me? Okay? But then when we go from Emmanuel, God coming down and squeezing himself into time and space and flesh, and you're looking at him being made up of three parts: mind, soul, and spirit. Okay? Is a picture again of him dwelling temporarily, his holy presence. We didn't see it in its fullness, but the point of it is that he became the sanctuary to this world.
Yes.
Right. Remember, it was a place where he was able to set people free. He was able to help people deal with sin. Okay? He was a walking Mishkan. And we see that image of the Shekinah coming down onto him, just as we saw it in the Mishkan way. At his baptism. When the dove coming and he saw something that looked like the Spirit of God falling down on him, and it's that same thing, he came to dwell inside. Okay? You with me? The problems are real there? No. Says, they will be his people, and he himself, God with them, will be their God. Now, we've spoke again, as God would have it, about covenants. Now, right? Genesis promises, I will be their God, they will be my people. Right? And so it goes on. Genesis, well, Abraham's covenant gets put to Isaac, gets put to Jacob, gets the Levites involved, gets Aaron's involved, gets Pinchas involved, gets the renewed covenant involved, all the way to the covenant of the peace, and they all talk about the same thing. The point of it all, I will be your God, and you will be my people. That's it. Those coming up to him, his point is, my heart's always been to dwell with you, but I want you to be mine. And how do I know that was the point? The end is revealed in the beginning according to Isaiah. So, in the beginning, Bereshit, wakey, okay? There was Gan Eden. What's Gan Eden? Garden of Eden, sometimes translated as in our Bibles as paradise. That's what it means. Okay? In the beginning, there was Gan Eden. And in Gan Eden, there was some good times and some not so good times. The fall. And after the fall, tree of life in that garden, and then clothes for Adam and Eve. Why? What were they clothes?
It was animal skin because something had to die
It was an animal. They had God killed an animal, covered their nakedness. And when we read that in Hebrew, we know we're just not talking about them being naked. Right? He's talking about their shame. Right? Their shame was that they didn't listen, that they brought in disobedience. And again, we have that little parallel. Disobedience brings what?
death.
Do I have to do it again? The first Adam and the second Adam? Okay.
No.
Side story. Are you guys with me?
Yes.
Okay. So the first Adam disobeyed. And we leave first time after their disobedience, we get this long genealogy about how long they lived. And at the end of every genealogy, and he lived for 900 years, and he died. And he lived for 800 years, and he died. 700 years, and he died. What do you think God's trying to tell you? Yeah, well, it slowly does come down, but they do fluctuate from time to time until you get to Methuselah, which is the guy who lived the longest, right? Just before Noah's flood. Okay? So God allowed someone to live the longest they've ever lived, to give them enough time to see if they would change their ways, and they didn't. It'll be just like the times of Noah, where you will get an exceedingly long amount of grace, but you're not looking around to see what's truth. Okay. So, he was so busy about marrying and doing their own things that they forgot everything. He disobeyed, sin came, death with it,
Yes.
and everything fell. Everything that was good is no longer good. Animals that were fine are no longer fine. Thorns came up out of the ground. God never created thorns. That was Adam's doing. Everything done got broken. Right? The second Adam, the second God made man. Okay, how was Adam made? It was the mud and the breath.
Yes.
How was Yeshua made?
The breath.
In a mud capsule that had breath and got breathed in by the power of the Ruach HaKodesh. Miriam got breathed on and then received the baby. He obeyed and he brought life. He conquers death. And that is going to lift creation back to where it should be. Okay? Yeah.
How do I explain the second, first Adam and the second Adam?
Okay. The word Adam means what?
Man.
Man, mankind. Okay? So the first human, he uses the same term. Okay? Now, when we look at the first man, he was made by God, right? God breathed into a clump of mud and he was made of God. He didn't have a father and a mother, right? When God made Yeshua, was Joseph involved?
No.
No. Okay, so how then did she fall pregnant? By the same breath. He breathed on her and she conceived. Scripture clearly points out, he did not know her until after Yeshua was born. Okay, you see what I'm saying? So, my ball, person, babies. That's what I'm trying to say. God made this one, God made this one. It wasn't a human, yes, yeah, it wasn't anything with that, right? So we're getting up to the point where he says, all right, I'm gonna fix the mistakes of this one by getting this one. And he came up to fix this. So his clothes was a covering,
Oh, goodness.
which is a kapera, which means atonement. Okay? And after the covering, God's got a plan. He's got to get us back to God in Eden. How does he do that?
By covering.
He's covered us, but has that changed our heart?
No.
No. Does that help us understand what went wrong? No, not in its fullness.
He gives us Torah.
Thanks. You remember this one,
Yeah.
huh? He gives you
So
Torah.
many times.
Yeah, repetition. He gives you Torah. Why?
Change your heart to teach you.
Well, that comes later. Hey?
To show you.
Torah was what?
So it can be. Just so remember, Paul says, Shaul says, if it wasn't for Torah, I would not know what sin is. Right? So if someone didn't tell me that God didn't like me stealing, if I got away with it, I think it'd be fine.
Even as a baby, you steal toys from your other baby.
Lying. What's wrong with lying? You lie all the time, right? Your wife comes to you and she's heavily pregnant. Do I look fat? Beautiful, you're glowing. Liar.
So you said we should say it.
Lying's a good thing. No, I'm saying not justified. Right? So what we do is we twist it and we use it, we manipulate. Once we start to understand God, we learn that it's not just lying He doesn't like, it's not just other things He doesn't like, but then we start to look at kosher eating. We start to look at hurting other people, by slandering people, by talking bad about people, those sort of things, that we know have repercussions, but heck, I mean, we can just do whatever we want, right? It's all about you. And he's saying, no, love one another. You're all created in my image, so work with me here. And he teaches us Torah, and it says, Torah is a lamp unto my feet. It helps me show what is right and what is wrong. And I use that. That's why this stuff doesn't change. Adultery is still wrong. Lying is still wrong. Stealing is still wrong. Those things don't change. Right. So we come into Torah. He gives us Torah. Once we understand Torah, what happened after Torah?
We can repent.
Teshuvah, but we can't really get into the fullness of our Teshuvah because we realize that sin equals death.
Yes.
But I've sinned, so therefore God is righteous in his actions, I should die.
Mhm.
We have the substitute.
He already showed us here that something will die to take your place. He reiterated that in Torah with Genesis 15, when we spoke about the Abrahamic covenant, when he walked through the animals and he never expected Abraham to do so. So he says, I'm going to pay the price to get you back, but I want heart condition. Once I get heart condition, the baptism of repentance we spoke about, will lead us to Yeshua's crucifixion, our Passover lamb.
Mhm.
Behold the lamb that takes away the sin of the world.
So,
Once Yeshua comes in, right, that kapara again, that covering, will bring us into what next? What did Yeshua?
Grace.
No, grace was there all along, because he could have just destroyed that and we would go close enough.
An infilling of the Holy Spirit.
Ruach, right. So Ruach, the Holy Spirit, HaKodesh. Now why is that important?
Because it's through him that we are able to lead. Because he's the teacher and the helper that was to be sent.
Right, and if we understand the new covenant terminology, that Ruach is going to change our hearts.
So that you have Isaiah where he says, "Our right hand and hearts," and then no one else will have to teach them because you'll have the Holy Spirit that will actually be leading you and teaching you Torah.
Yeah, well, exactly. He gave you Torah. He's going to write them in your hearts, Jeremiah 31, Ezekiel 36, right? And he's going to cause you to walk in his Torah. And we go one step further. It says, the scripture talks about that the Torah and the Ruach HaKodesh are not in enmity. They work together. They reaffirm one another. Okay? So anybody that tells you, the Spirit has told me it's okay to do this and it's a sin, wrong spirit.
Mhm.
That's called justification. That's following something that's not correct. Okay? So this Holy Spirit is going to change our heart and it's going to bring us back into this new or renewed covenant. And our renewed covenant is going to start the process of making us new from the inside out. You with me?
Yes.
Holy Spirit changes us.
Yes. Derek.
That's what you need to do.
Okay.
And then we move forward, closer back, and in this area, we have this tease of Revelations 21 and 21. Where we talk about getting a new body, new heaven. Okay, I'm using Revelations 21 in a broad stroke, there's other chapters. New heaven, new earth. To bring us back into perfection. And to give us that opportunity that's going to happen now. Once at the center of Galilee, and we refuse to eat of in the beginning,
Tree of life.
the tree of life. Edwin, what you have?
No,
No,
it's
it's
all
okay.
explained.
Okay. All right. So this is what we're dealing with here, guys. When you look at what these things are going on, you can literally parallel Genesis and the breaking of everything with Revelations and the restoration of everything. Okay? So there's a lot of things that are going in the back of it, but what I wanted you to see here is, again, the essence of every covenant that we have. From Abraham, Isaac, and so we go on, all the way down. I will be their God and they will be my people. That's the promise. That's the fullness of this.
If you did churches to me that keep my commandments, it goes back to Torah.
And goes back to Genesis. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will no longer be any death, and there will no longer be any mourning. crying or pain because the old order has passed away. All right. There will no longer, he will wipe away every tear. How many of you have heard about the song that talks about him catching tears?
A song.
A
Or a
song. Song. I'm not sure you don't have the right money in school.
Just backtrack a bit. No, you said that new covenant. Are you talking about now when Yeshua came to uphold the Torah?
Should have come on Sunday, Sam. He, the new covenant, he talks about changing your heart, he talks about the Torah on your heart, and filling you with the Holy Spirit to enable you to walk in Torah. The part of you being renewed is the inside part that I want to follow God, that I want to keep His ways, that I want to walk with Him. But we inherently recognize that there's something wrong with us. The flesh wars against the Spirit.
Yeah.
How do I overcome that? How many of you have realized that warring against yourself using your own strength only makes you lose? Right? You cannot beat you. You can't fix you. God can. Recognizing that and giving it to Him and saying, I don't want that anymore. I need you to change my heart. I need you to change my mind. I need you to inform me so that you can continue to choose to live with Him. Every day is a choice. But the fullness of Him defeating your flesh is when you get a full new body. And that complete transformation is what He's telling you to. It starts with the spirit, and it starts with the heart, and then it's going to echo out. Okay?
Sorry, what's that song?
I'm busy looking, I wrote it down. I'm pretty sure it's on 56. And let me just check. Here we go. Alright, go to Psalm 56.
Yeah, verse 8.
Yeah, Psalm 56. Right. Okay. Show me favor, God, for people are trampling me down. All day they fight and press on me. Those who are lying in wait for me would trample on me all day. For those fighting against me are many. Most High, when I am afraid, I put my trust in you. In God, I praise your word. In God, I trust. I have no fear. What can human power do to me? All day long they twist my words. Their only thought is to harm me. They gather together and hide themselves, spying on my movements, hoping to kill me. Because of their crime, they cannot escape. In anger, God strike down the peoples. You have kept count of my wandering, stored my tears in your bottle. All right. That makes an illustration to an ancient biblical custom. Okay? They opened up a grave. We have archaeological evidence of this in a couple of different graves. When they opened up an ancient tomb, they found little clay jars about here. Okay? And then they couldn't understand what it was for, so what they did is they tested it, and what they came out with is they actually found out they were tears. Right? What you would do is when someone would pass, they would weep into a bottle, and you would put your tears there, citing the psalmist. Noting that God stores every tear. He's going to wipe away every single one. Now think about that for a second. How much must God love you, and how many tears have you cried in your lifetime that He catches each and every one? And He stores them. Think about it. And people look at you and they go, your God does not love you. So yes, He knows the amount of hair I have on my head. And He's counted every tear I cry. Tell me that's not love. I love my children. I wipe away their tears. I've never counted their hairs on my head. Not once. How far does He go? How much more love can He show? Okay? So again, every tear from their eyes, every time we've been hurt. And there's a cool illustration to this. wasn't going to go there, but I'm there now.
Mm-hmm.
Never thought. Yeshua comes riding on a donkey, right? And they were waving the palm branches. Hoshiana, Hoshiana. And he starts to cry. Now the Greek apparently means not to cry softly. It means to cry loudly. So, Yeshua's coming down. He's riding on a donkey. They're declaring him as king. They're waving the national flag, the palm branch. And they're saying, save us, get rid of the Romans. You come as Mashiach. You're going to establish your kingdom. Everything's going to be fantastic. And then he starts crying, snorting around. What do you think was going on with the people that were waving the flags? What do you think they were thinking about?
This man is confused.
Very confused. These are not even tears of joy.
Maybe they thought he was humble.
You're too much tears. You know, that's it. The conquering hero comes in. There's something wrong with that conquering hero.
Can't see Alexander doing that.
No, you think, whenever the mighty Roman Empire, Yeshua. All of a sudden the Mashiach is not looking so much Mashiach, right? So what is it that he's crying about?
Because he knows what's coming.
They missed the plot.
They missed his purpose. He came to set the captives free, but not the way they wanted to. Those bound by Satan. Those who are being hurt, those who are being neglected. He came to set them free. He came to lay down his life so that you can have life. All they wanted was a kingdom back, and he says, no, you want your kingdom, you don't want mine. This is the problem. He came to establish the kingdom of heaven, not the kingdom of Israel. They wanted a physical standoff, Israel kingdom with an Israeli king. They wanted David back. And what they got? Well, he was thinking about this. No more death. No more destruction. He knew what was coming in 70 AD. The destruction of the temple. He knew how many people would die. He knew how many people would die, Holocaust and Spanish Inquisitions, and how many people would go through all this destruction. And he knows it all, and he says, when it's all said and done, death is gone. It's not for nothing. As in the times of Noah, I'm giving you time. Make the right choice. The second time we know of in Scripture where he was crying was when he was sitting at Lazarus' tomb. And remember, he goes and he says, they're sitting over there and they say, Joshua, come quickly, your friend is sick. And he goes, don't worry, we're going to have a lunch and we can talk about this for a little bit and then we'll come over, don't stress. If he knew Lazarus was going to die, if he was that sick, why did he sit around, have lunch, carry on talking to the disciples before he went there?
Because he knew he had to do what he had to do when he had to do it. Otherwise, if he just made a sick man well, he didn't bring a dead man to life.
Remember, that falls into that falls into our Pesach illustration, right? The last three wonders, we're talking about I have no equal. God has no equal. No one else has done this. He waited until the fourth day to the point, and then even Miriam and Martha came up to him and they said, you know, so one of them came up to him, I can't remember which one. She said, if you were only here.
They still try to stop him because they thought that the body would have broken.
Let me open the tomb. Yeah, it's sealed for a reason. And he says, do you trust me? You know? Anything I ask. This is a paraphrase version. Okay? And he gets up over there and then he rolls it up. But before he does, he's looking at the tomb and he says he started to weep. But this is not for the crowd sobbing loudly weep. This is for the quietly sobbing into my beard. Now, why would then he would be quietly sobbing?
Because he's going to be lying in the tomb and
You've got that illustration, he's facing his future. This is where I'm going to be. And people who love me are going to be wailing around. Remember, he was sitting there and people were crying because Lazarus is gone. Another illustration is that he saw how much they were hurting and he was crying with them. We get into this idea, and we make many mistakes in our walk, is that when God is either too small, he's too much of our body, or he's too exalted that he doesn't care. There's a lovely Jewish liturgy. We're going to play the song on Friday. The song called Avinu Malkeinu, which is my father, my king. We understand that he is king. We understand that he is exalted. But we also understand that he weeps because you are hurting. He catches every tear. Now think about that from the time of the first death. How many tears does he have stored? How much does he want to restore everybody so that we will never ever have to worry about sickness and illness and death and worse? And yet, he waits. Why does he wait so long? Because he wants to save everybody. Scripture says that his desire is that not one would be lost. And yet, they continue to run.
Problem everyone thinks it's not yet.
We can think about that. It's for the time we have, that we can do the work we need to do, but at the same time, when he comes, I'm not going to be mortified. There's no stupid questions now.
What if you don't have sympathy for other people? Have you not got any?
Then you forgot where he pulled you out from.
No. Like, first, if, no, I don't know how to put it. Not sympathy for death and things like that, sympathy for small things.
Example.
Someone bumped their toe and everyone's like, oh, and you're like, get over it.
Move on. Yeah. I don't think that's a major thing. I think when someone's hurting, like
No, really,
hurting,
actually,
then
I'll get with them, but, you know, these everyone's,
I think that comes more from your upbringing.
okay.
Yeah.
I think that's-
You. It's like that because mommy was treated like that. And it was probably mommy's mommy that was treated like that. And mommy's mommy, and mommy, and you treated like that.
My cries, I tell her to take a deep breath, and as she does it, I said, you see, you're not dead now. Move along.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we were discussing that we were thinking maybe we were lacking our holiness in class today because we like all unsympathetic towards small things. Yeah, thank you.
There's a difference in the way people were raised, right? I love my mom to bits. She'll literally give you her last $20, but if you tell her you're sick, she shouts at you.
She'll tell you why didn't you put your jersey on, it's your own fault you're sick.
No, she shouts at you because she can't fix you. So she gets frustrated, so she shouts at you. So when you're sick, you just ignore it and you don't.
You just gotta work anyway.
No, me, I send a message. And I'm like, not coming in, I'm sick. Then she'll shout at the phone and then move on. But if the phone is, she's going to shout at me longer. So there's no point. I understand where she's coming from now, after many years of people scratching my head. But it comes down to the way they love you so much, they want you to get up and they want you to be fine and they want you to be healthy and they can't make you do that, so they shout at you. It's a frustration thing, but anyway. Right.
They're not very good.
Okay, wipe away every tear. I want you to go to Isaiah 25. So many scripture references, I'm confusing some. Isaiah 25 verse 8 is where we're going to look at. On this mountain, Adonai Tzebaot will make for all peoples a feast of rich food and superb wines, delicious rich food and superb elegant wine. On this mountain we will destroy the veil which covers the face of all peoples, the veil enshrining all the nations. He will swallow up death forever. Adonai Elohim will wipe away every tear, or wipe away the tears from every face, and he will remove all the earth in his face. His people suffer for Adonai has spoken. On that day, they will say, see, this is our God. We waited for him to save us. This is Adonai. We put our hope in him. We are full of joy. So glad he saved us. For on this mountain, the hand of Adonai will rest. Right? Sounds very Revelations 21, right? Okay. Okay, we are. Verse 5. The one sitting on the throne said, look, I am making everything new. Also he said, write these words, write. These words are true and trustworthy. And he said to me, it is done. Okay? This is not the same phrase he used as Pesach. Okay? It is finished slightly differently, but it is done. The completion of everything is now in its fullness. I am the A and the Z, the beginning and the end. I am the Aleph Tav. Okay, this is the third time you will see it. In Revelation 22 will be the fourth time. He only says, I am the Aleph Tav 4 times. When, that's funny, when Revelations have marks of 7, 7, 7, 7, this is a 4 cycle. Okay, remember what we said about Aleph Tav? That happens in 2 places.
The beginning and the end.
Yeah, the beginning and the end. But
Genesis.
where is Scripture? Genesis 1, 1.
And,
Right.
The last one.
No,
and Revelation 22.
no. Those happen, but there's a hidden Aleph Tav. Zechariah talks about Zechariah 12. Come to Zechariah 12, verse 10. If we can find it. If someone meets me there, please read it.
12:10, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. I will pour on David's house and on the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication. And they will look to me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourns for his only son, and will grieve bitterly for him as one grieves for his firstborn.
Okay.
Let's carry on.
No, that's fine. They will look to me whom they have pierced. Between the me and the whom is another floating Aleph Tav. They will look to me, Aleph Tav, whom they have pierced. So he says it in Genesis 1. Bereshit bara Elohim Aleph Tav. In the beginning, God created. Aleph Tav is Yeshua. And he says he will look. They will look at me, Yeshua, whom I have pierced.
Because,
Okay?
but you can't see that in the New King James.
No, you don't see it because it's one of those ones where they can't translate. Okay, it happens a lot. It's about the grammar. The et, as they call it, talks about a specific thing. When I want to talk about this koki, or this specific koki in the box, I say I will use et. This is the indefinite article that I'm referring to. But there it happens in 2 places where they don't know why it's there. That's a conundrum to me. Zechariah 12:10 and Genesis 1:1. Okay. All right. So here's the beginning and here's the end. Remember, as the word is made up of what we understand alphabet, he's the A to Z. Right? So here's the Aleph Tav, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet and the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. The word became flesh and dwelt among us, and the word came down, as in from the Shekhinah onto Sinai, and that which we understand is Torah. Okay? To anyone who is thirsty, I will give water free of charge from the fountain of life. Okay. He who is thirsty. Okay. Isaiah 55. Bring those answers back.
And unto you they bring water.
Yes, he is thirsty. Go to Isaiah 55.
Verse?
Isaiah 55.
Just the-
Yes.
Verse 1.
Yes.
All who are thirsty, come to the water. You without money, come and buy and eat. Yes, come, buy wine and milk. Without money, it's free. Why spend money for what isn't food, your wages for what doesn't satisfy? Listen carefully to me and you will eat well. You will enjoy the fat of the land. Open your ears and come to me. Listen well and you will live. I will make an everlasting covenant with you, the grace I assured David. I have given him as a witness to the peoples, a leader and lawgiver for the peoples. Now, was David before Isaiah or after?
Before.
Long before, and yet he's going to give David. Notice what he says there. He gives him as a what? A leader and a
Commander.
lawgiver. What is your name?
Commander.
Okay, it's the same as Joshua. We can make that illustration of he is the first of the commandments of God. You will summon a nation you do not know, a nation that doesn't know you will run to you for the sake of Adonai your God, the Holy One of Israel, who will glorify you. Seek Adonai while he is available, call on him while he is still nearby. I just want to reiterate that while we're talking about, while we're preparing for Yom Kippur. There's a time when he gives you the opportunity, and over these 10 days of awe, it's an opportunity to make right. His eyes are open towards his house, seeking who he can save. Right? This is a time. It's a time where you can focus on him. It's a time where you can look to him. It's a time that you can ask him to change. Alright? Let the wicked person abandon his way, and the evil person his thoughts. Let him return to Adonai, and he will have mercy on him. Let him return to our God, for he will freely forgive. Okay. So, from there's another illustration. I want you to go to John 4. Okay. I'm just going to start from verse 5. He came to the town of Shomron, called Shechem, near the field of Yaakov, given to the son of Yosef. Yaakov's well was there. So Yeshua, exhausted from his travels, sat down by the well, and it was about noon. A woman from Shomron, Samaria, came and drew some water, and Yeshua said to her, "Give me a drink of water." He's telling him his students had gone, his disciples had gone into the town to buy food. The woman from Samaria said to him, "How is it that you, a Jew, are asking water from me, a woman of Shomron? For Jews don't associate with the people of Shomron." Yeshua answered her, "If you knew God's gift, that is, who is saying to you, 'Give me a drink of water,' then you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." She said to him, "Sir, you don't even have a bucket, and the well is deep. So where are you going to get this living water? You aren't greater than our father Yaakov, are you? He gave us this well and drank from it. So did his sons and his cattle." Yeshua answered, "Everyone who drinks this water will get thirsty again. But whoever drinks the water I will give them will never be thirsty again. On the contrary, the water I give him will become a spring of water inside of him, welling up into eternal life." "So give me this water," the woman said to him, "so that I won't have to be thirsty and keep coming here to draw water." What did you notice there? Well, first of all, she's talking to someone that they normally wouldn't. Okay? So he knows how to talk to the lost and those around. Huh? And she was a woman. What? Where was he talking to her? A well. A well of who? Jacob's well. Why is that important? Where did Jacob learn to? Why did Jacob dig wells?
I don't know.
Why did Abraham dig wells?
He was in the desert.
He was in the desert. He needed water. Plain sense, absolutely right. But he was looking
It's
for.
a way to reach out to the people around.
Right. And in many cases, an evangelistic strategy. People came up and they drank from his water, and he told them about God. Right? "Come drink my water, I will satisfy your need, and I will tell you about your eternity." Here, eternity is sitting in the well, talking to the person of drinking water. So reverse. Okay? Right? Said, "Go and call your husband and come back." She answered, "I don't have a husband." Yeshua said to her, "You are right. You don't have a husband. You've had 5 husbands in the past, and you're not married to the man you're living with now. You've spoken the truth." There's no way he would have known that. "So I can see that you're a prophet." The woman replied, "Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, but your people say that the place where one has to worship is in Yerushalayim." Yeshua said, "Lady, believe me, the time is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Yerushalayim. The people don't know what you are worshiping. We worship what we do know, because Yeshua, salvation, his name, comes from the Jews. But the time is coming, indeed, it is here now, when the true worshippers will worship the Father spiritually and truly, in spirit and in truth. For these are These are the kind of people the Father wants worshiping Him. God is spirit, and the worshippers must worship Him spiritually and truly, in conjunction with. Listen to her words. The woman replied, I know the Mashiach is coming. That one is the one who is anointed. When He comes, He will tell us everything. Yeshua said to her, I am the person speaking to you and He. We have time and time again where people say that He never declared He was the Messiah. There's just another evidence that He did. But He does it in a way that they understand. Okay? He's talking about living water. That living water was an illustration of God. He is the source of life, and they understood that without these wells we die. And He says, if you drink from me, you will have eternal life. Jump a little bit further on to John chapter 7. Now, we've done this. We're talking about the time of Sukkot. Okay? That's important. Why? Because we're talking about Sukkot. We're talking about in Revelations 1, when He came in the tabernacle, and then the New Jerusalem is going to come down. The fullness of Sukkot is what we're talking about. Okay? He went up to celebrate at that time.
Which verse?
I'm looking at
37.
37.
Yeah.
Hmm?
That's
It's
the one.
going to Rosh Hashanah, I'm going to Rosh Hashanah.
That's
Okay?
the one Vince is looking for.
Yeah, verse 37. Now on the last day of the festival, the 8th day, Rosh Hashanah, Yeshua stood and cried out, if anyone is thirsty, let him keep coming to me and drinking. Yeah, and drinking. Whoever puts his trust in me, as the scripture says, rivers of living water will flow from his innermost being. Now he said this about the Spirit, whom he trusted in Him were to receive later. The Spirit had not yet been given, because Yeshua had not yet been glorified. So he talks about this thing at the time of the water pouring offering, or the water pouring. Now that water pouring was to point you to something else. What did they pray for at Sukkot?
Right.
For rain. But they were also looking at an illustration, we discussed this, of another prophecy in Ezekiel 47. Okay? In Ezekiel 47, Ezekiel gets taken up to the house, and he saw water flowing eastward from under the threshold of the house. So water flowing from the temple, Ezekiel 47 verse 1. Okay? And the house faced east, and the water flowed, and as he went, it got thicker and thicker and more and more and more until eventually it went up where? To?
Past what the ankles measured 1,000 might be passing to the water to the knees. Measured 1,000 might be pass over water to the loins. Measured 1,000.
Go down to verse 8.
And he said to me, these waters are flowing down towards the eastern country and go down into the Arabah, into the sea, being made to flow into the sea, and the water shall be healed. That's the Dead Sea.
Right. So the Dead Sea, okay, read verse 9.
Sorry?
Yeah. Verse 9.
Big one. And it shall be that every swimming creature, wherever the stream goes, shall live. And there shall be very many fish. For these waters shall go there, and they are all healed. And wherever the stream flows, all shall live.
Okay. Verse 10 says, then the fishermen will stand on the shore spreading their nets all the way from En-Gedi to En-Galilee. There will be many kinds of fish there in the Great Sea, the Mediterranean, or as in the Great Sea, the Mediterranean, a great variety. However, its mudflash and marshes will not become fresh but will remain salty. On both river banks will grow all kinds of trees for food, and their leaves will not dry up, nor will their fruit fail. There will be a different kind of fruit each month. Make a little note there. Okay? We're going to come back to that when it describes the tree of life. Okay? Because the water flows from the sanctuary, the Mishkan, so that this fruit will be edible and the leaves will have healing properties. Okay? That's tree of life analogy, which you're going to see a little bit later. So as he's pouring it out, this living water is going to come from the sanctuary. It's going to go down and it's going to resurrect the Dead Sea. It's going to make it life again. Why is that water dead again?
Salt.
Not just the salt, it's minerals. It's not stagnant. It actually runs in and it runs out. Why then is it dead?
Because that's the Sodom and Gomorrah.
The area of Sodom and Gomorrah, when sulfur and brimstone came rolling down at that place, it made the whole place desolate. Sodom and Gomorrah never rose again. Okay? Remember, sulfur, fire, and brimstone, that eternal fire destruction. He says to Capernaum, the Bethsaida and Chorazin, he says, well, one of them he says, well, I think it's with Bethsaida and Chorazin, he said, if Tyre and Sidon were still standing, if they received the miracles that were done in you, they still would have been standing. Sodom and Gomorrah, same thing with Capernaum. Judgment by fire, what does that sound like? The final death. Okay? When everything is destroyed. No more. Even the water, the sand, the soil and everything that got judged there completely died. No life comes from it. It started to absorb into it, crept into this basin, and now not even microorganisms are alive in the Dead Sea. Okay? Nothing can live there. And it's hypocritical. Why?
Because it looks like it might be good and blue when you drive down
There's
there.
green things around it.
No, it looks like the Mediterranean. It looks blue. It looks like the Galilee. You wouldn't know until you get in it that this thing is actually as dead as you could get. So Yeshua, again, makes this illustration, again, of that living water that will bring life, that only streams from Him, the sanctuary of God. Okay? In the place where Emmanuel will be, and this living water will flow in and will bring resurrection and life. I am the resurrection and life. That's what He told us, right? Are you guys okay? Lots of jumping around, but we'll more or less, you're starting to see what He's trying to tell you. Alright, so, this thirstiness that's coming.
Seven.
Fountain of life. He who wins victory will receive these things, and I will be his God, and they will be and he will be my son. Yes, you're not getting very far. I will be his son. Previously we talked about, he will be my people. Now he's talking about, he will be my son.
Because,
Revelations
Revelation.
21.
I was trying to find them in Ezekiel now.
No, back in Revelations 21. Okay?
You need to tell us when you do that.
keep up.
Yeah.
You need to keep up here.
Alright. Not bad. Alright. So we know that if we love God, we keep His commandments, 1 John 5. And the church, or in Revelations 2 and 3, we talk about these mitzvot, or he talks about this people about being overcomers. Talks about overcoming flesh, overcoming their circumstances. Okay? Now, in the fullness of this, we need to understand that you're warring against your flesh, but you win the right to be called sons and daughters. Okay, we've said it before, it is scriptural, it is there. What we need to be careful of is not to become fearful in what we're talking about. So God says to you that you're going to have to go through X, Y, and Z, but if you overcome this, there's your reward on the other side. What He's giving you is Gan Eden, and if you overcome, the gift of the tree of life. So, what do you have to overcome?
Death, sin.
Sin, the world. He will overcome death. He's already destroyed it. We can't do it. Okay? So we get into the point where we have to overcome ourselves. We have to continually fight against the world, what the world wants, what the world's desires, sometimes what our own desires are, because our fleshly desires, our own justification, our own logic, our own sin.
It actually says that in James 4, when why do you war against yourself? It's because you desire the lust of the flesh.
Right. Back to flesh. So that you have these moments where you have to realize that sometimes you're holding on to things and what you want instead of what God wants. Okay? That's important. But if you overcome, this is your reward. Eternity, life, everything restored, and eternity with God. You have this gift. Okay? But do not become fearful. You know, there was one commentary I was listening to, the guy was talking about fear, which happens a lot in Scripture, stops people from getting through stuff. And he reminded me, made the illustration of going down to the 12 spies incident, right? The 12 spies went down, 2 spies came back with a good report, 10 didn't. What was their reason for the bad report? Was the land bad, or did they acknowledge that it was good?
It was the size of the giants that made them scary.
Yeah.
And they said that they were like grasshoppers in their size.
Yeah.
So it was this, we can't beat them because they were looking in from their point of view, not that God had already said
Which
the
is
line
right now.
of their strength.
Their fortifications, the size of these guys, their skills, their iron chariots, all of this stuff. They feared God in the way of their faith. And they never entered into the promised land. Right? At this time in our juncture, what God is calling us to do, we need to understand that as much as the enemy is going to push, we need to understand, don't react in fear, but react in faith. The Psalms that you keep on reading about when David's running for his life, even though my enemies all around me, even though they plot to destroy me, even though they set traps before me, even though, and he was literally running for his life, what are we dealing with? Oh, my life's so horrible right now, I'm struggling. No one's persecuting to you to the point of David fled more than once from his home because of someone trying to kill him. Some his own gurus, sometimes Satan coming in. You get into this place of, he always came back to, my hope is that God is with me and that he will restore me. We need to understand when you're fighting against stuff, when you're fighting against flesh, when you're going up against Satan, that is not you. That you are not going to look at it and you're going to go one-on-one, toe-to-toe here. You are not going to overcome this in your own flesh. You're not going to overcome this in your own strength. You're going to overcome this because God promised that he would be with you wherever you go. That he would be your God and you would be his. So whatever you're dealing with, take a step back and realize that God will go before you if you ask him to. But also remember, he might take a step to the back if you're not listening. Now that's sometimes you just need to, are you still here? Moment. Okay? Make sure that we focus on the faith part of overcoming, and when you look at what these guys and these churches, as we studied them in depth in chapters 2 and 3, what they had to overcome, what their reward was if they did. We have that hope. Okay? What did I get to? Verse 8. But as for the cowardly, fear, guys. The untrustworthy, those who don't trust. The vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral. Those involved in the occult and with drugs. Idol worshippers and all liars. Their destiny is the lake of burning with fire and sulfur, the second death. Notice in that list, he starts off with the cowardly and untrustworthy. He doesn't say the murderers, the idolaters, the adulterers, and then you guys who are scared. He says the cowardly and untrustworthy first.
Because it gets serious. Wow.
Do not fear, for I am with you. If you fear, and I get this is many times a human response. You have to tell people not to fear because you're genuinely pooping your pants. Right? An angel appears and then you go, bang, and he goes, don't be scared. There's a reason for that, because you're sitting in the corner. Right? You know what this thing is. He's like, I've been sent to have a chat with you. To see God as he fully is, you need to understand that we don't always comprehend that, but he's saying, I'm here with you. Do you believe him? That's the trust part. Many a time people get led into making the wrong decision because they do it with the eyes of fear instead of the eyes of faith. Make sure we don't look at our physical circumstances and think that our God's arm is too short to save. Whether you're dealing with praying for people, whether you're dealing with praying for your company, or whether you're dealing with praying for protection, whatever it is, God's arm is not too short. And he loves you enough to want to do this for you, but he will do it in a way that his name will be glorified, not yours. Okay? So take a breath. One of the 7 angels having the 7 bowls full of the 7 last plagues approached me and said, Come, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb. He carried me off in his spirit to the top of a great high mountain and showed me the holy city, Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God. It had the Shekinah of God, so its brilliance was like that of a precious jewel, like a crystal clear diamond. Any other translation? Jasper normally?
Yeah.
Okay? It had a great high wall with 12 gates. At the gates were 12 angels, and inscribed on the gates were the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. There were 3 gates to the east, 3 gates to the north, 3 gates to the south, 3 gates to the west. The wall of the city was built on 12 foundation stones, and on those were the 12 tribes and the name of the 12 emissaries of the Lamb. Okay? So we have,
Is there number 12?
yeah, 12 everywhere. The foundation is set in beautiful stones, and it's nice and thick and it's unmovable. The angels speaking with me had a gold measuring rod with which to measure the city, its gates and its wall, and the city was laid out in a square, its length equal to its width, and its rod measured the city of 1,500 miles. Important point, these are Roman miles according to the time of John, and we're looking at roughly 2,200 kilometers. Length, breadth, and height. Think about that for a second. 2,200 kilometers. How far is it from here to Cape Town?
Like that.
That's 24.
It's much further.
Is it?
So it's to Gabs and to Cape Town.
It's a small distance. The size of this place is ridiculous. Okay? Now, it's 2,200 kilometers wide, 2,200 kilometers long, and 2,200 kilometers high. That's a lot of space for a lot of people. So when Yeshua said, I go and prepare a place for you,
In my house.
in my house there are many
In
rooms.
my father's house.
That's it. Yeah, in my father's house there are many rooms. It's amazing when you look at the size of this thing, how many people it could probably have. Okay, just a thought. Okay? He measured its wall at 216 feet by human standards of measurement, which the angel was using, and there's a thought that it might not be height, but actually thickness that he's talking about here. The wall was made of diamond, might say just in your Bible, and the city of pure gold resembling pure glass. So some yellowy, see-through golden substance. The foundations of the city wall were decorated with all kinds of precious stones. The foundation stone was a diamond, second sapphire, third chalcedony, the fourth emerald, the first sardonyx, the sixth cornelian, the seventh chrysolite, the eighth beryl, the ninth topaz, the 10th chrysoprase, the 11th turquoise, and the 12th amethyst. The 12 gates were 12 pearls, with each gate made of a single pearl. So think about that just for a second. Now these, yeah, that is a monstrous size pearl.
Pretty gates.
Okay, yeah, and that's where we get the image of the pearly gate. Yeah. The city's main street was pure gold, transparent as glass. Okay. So, we're sitting here, we're looking at this place that's pretty much in a cube shape. Now, there's many different interpretations of this, of what this is supposed to be and represent and all that stuff. It's a massive cube, and some people say, well, it never really touches the earth, so it's kind of hovering over the earth. I think that kind of just nullifies everything we kind of spoke about here, because we're going to get teleportation devices to get up top there so we can just spend time with the king. I don't think so. Alright? But this is going to come and it's going to sit over this massive scope. And there's also an interesting little link. The tabernacle was 15 cubits by 15 cubits by 15 cubits. So he sticks with the same 1500, 1500, 1500, and now he's got 15 by 15 by 15. This is a cubit. Okay? So he's giving us an interesting parallel of that Mishkan and the point of this tabernacle to come and dwell with us. Alright? The thing about the stones is kind of difficult to break down. The first time when I saw those stones, I immediately went to the 12 stones in the high priest breastplate. Okay, that's Exodus 28. Apparently not the same stones, different words. Right? The problem with this as well is that we have throughout history, and even in the same culture, we have different names for different stones. A diamond or a jasper will be called by different names. So it's going to be very difficult to nail down exactly what this is. But again, we need to understand that it is in its fullness and beauty. I think I commented a little on the Elo Original group about, it was David Forson that was talking about the light, pure light, hitting the different stones. And some of them light up and some of them go dead. The diamonds go dead. Okay? So for that interesting little tidbit, I'll repost it on the group if you guys want. To look at the different ways that it could possibly, in the way it reflects light and the way it's going to bring it into its fullness. Another little funny thing that I brought in here, before we get to the hours, was you notice that the 12 foundations of the 12 disciples, okay? How many were good?
11.
11. So who's the 12?
Judas.
Why would Judas be there?
Oh, you mean who is the 12th now? Yeah, no, I don't know.
Sure.
Matthew? Which Matthew?
It's the one that God chose. Because he
Well,
said that
chosen by
another
God.
one and then
Chosen by God. Not Matthew the tax collector in mind. Another Matthew that comes in later. Remember, sometimes we have different or same names, and then they give them nicknames, like the sons of Zebedee. The sons of Thunder. They were probably very grumpy and very judgmental people. Okay, Thomas was Tumah, means twin. So he looked like someone else. Shimon Kepha, Simon the Rock. It's probably a big boyki. So he gives them nicknames to be able to identify them. Maybe it was more about personality type. I'm not so sure. Anyway, but this was a different one. So if you're going to look into Acts, you'll actually see a different Matthew that we called up and crossed up a lot. Lots of people have different discussions and they say, no, Paul says he's an emissary, even the least of those, so therefore it must be Shaul, because God chose Shaul, for he said that God chose him for his own works, and this other Matthew character was chosen by the means of Lot, so he wasn't chosen by God. But they forget that Lot gave them inheritance, gave them their answers, and all the rest of it. God was in control of that. We see that all the way from Jonah and before. So I think their argument is a little bit weak.
And the tribes would agree. Sizes were divided by lot.
Right. I want you to, I'm going to go to time
You don't
here. Okay. Right. Let's see where we are. Alright. I saw no temple in the city for Adonai, God of heaven's armies, Adonai said, Lord, in the temple as is the Lamb. Is its temple as is the Lamb. So we see the Father and the Son sitting basically in the throne. They are the temple, as he said, destroy this temple in 3 days and I'll raise it up. The city has no need for the sun or the moon or light, or sun or moon to shine on it, because God Shekhinah gives it light, and its lamp is the Lamb. The nations will walk by it, its light, and the kings of the earth will bring their splendor to it. Its gates will never close, they stay open all day, because night will not exist there. And the honor and splendor of the nations will be brought in. Nothing impure may enter it, nor anyone who does shameful things or lies. The only ones who may enter are the ones whose names are written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Okay, so God's reigning, and there's an interesting illustration here. We have, I've got like 50 references here, but I want to share one more before we go. Why don't you go to Isaiah 60. Now this will give you a little illustration of what he's talking about, a city of light. Arise and shine, Jerusalem, for your light has come, the glory of Adonai has risen over you. For although darkness covers the earth, the thick darkness the peoples, on you Adonai will rise. Over you will be seen his glory. Nations will go toward your light, the kings towards your shining splendor. Raise your eyes and look around. They are all assembling and coming to you. Your sons are coming from far off, your daughters being carried on nurses' hips. Then you will see and be radiant, your heart will throb and swell with delight, for the riches of the seas will be brought to you, the wealth of nations will come to you, caravans on camels will cover your land, young camels from Midian and Ephah, all of them are coming from Sheba, bringing gold and frankincense and proclaiming the praises of Adonai. All the flocks of Kedar will be gathered to you, the rams of Nebaioth will be at your service. They will come up and will be received on my altar as I glorify my glorious house. Sound familiar? Right. You guys can carry on looking at that chapter. If you guys don't mind, it's a page 22. Are you guys okay? Sure? You want to go and run away?
Yeah, but the little ones.
Alright. Do you guys want to run away? We can finish 22 next week if you want. No? You're ready running away? Right. What do you guys want to do?
My brain
Yeah, keep struggling to
My brain
Alright. Let me do 22 next week, but I want you guys to research. We spoke just before this in Revelation 20. We spoke about Gog and Magog. Okay? I want you to do research on that. Alright? Go and research the war of Gog and Magog, and then we will do Revelations 22. Revelations 22 is like an epilogue. It's like a summation of things that have gone past. That's an easy read. There's not much to it, but we can go into Gog and Magog next week. Alright? Abby? Jolly good. Alright. Prayer time is appetite.
As I said, yeah, this is not working.
Yeah, Vince, you need to say where you're reading when you change. Everyone was saying, where are you reading from?
Don't do it. Pay attention.
Yeah, keep up.